Good morning, everyone. It's another beautiful morning in my backyard here in Sacramento. I hope you had a good weekend celebrating July 4th. It was interesting for me yesterday to hear from people what they'd done to celebrate the holiday. Lots of different things, but most people seem to have stayed home and had a very quiet time. And I think some people felt almost a little guilty about being self-indulgently alone and quiet and enjoying the holiday. I hope your time was a good one. And so we enter yet another week of pandemic and shelter in place. And we share together in this experience. Our St. Mark's consultant, Reverend Cameron Trimble, wrote a powerful piece last week where she began with a quotation from the author Wayne Dyer, who said, "If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." A great quotation. There is an author called Amy Herman who has written a book called Visual Intelligence. She's a lawyer and an art curator. And she has built a whole business teaching law enforcement officers, doctors, scientists, technologists, teachers to look more closely and see what it is presenting itself before them. And she uses art as her medium, asking these leaders to study classical paintings, sculptures, and monuments to help them better observe the people they engage every day in the streets or in their offices. She argues that every one of us sees differently. We each see nuances that others miss. Our crisis comes because we hesitate to share what we see. We never point out what seems obvious to us but is missed by others. In failing to talk about what we see, we live with major blind spots. If we want to see clearly, we have to share our vision with each other. In this time of COVID-19, this is really important. I can't think of a better description to describe sacred community, the dream of the kind of relationship of God, the hopes that we might have with one another, than this: seeing each other as we actually are, speaking freely about what is true for us from the deepest levels of our knowing. Perhaps this is what became hidden in the rat race of our pre-COVID life. We were becoming too blind and too deaf to our own unique vision. Many of the world's sacred texts talk about having the eyes to see and the ears to hear. They talk about pathways to enlightenment or to salvation, opening for those who can see with new eyes. I think I'm finally starting to understand a bit more about this. Our faith invites us to see not just with our own eyes, but with God's eyes. It's not some strange magic that we're lucky to experience. It's a willingness to look at the world closely through the lens of unconditional love, say what we see, and listen generously to what others see as well. It's others' views that bring our own seeing to life. This gives me endless hope. Together, we can help each other see our way through this time of renewal, of change, for a better, more beautiful world. Let me close with a prayer of Martin Luther King. God, grant that we will love you with all our hearts, souls, and minds, and love our neighbors as we love ourselves, even our enemy neighbors. And we ask you, God, in these days of emotional tension, when the problems of the world are gigantic in extent and chaotic in detail, to be with us in our going out and our coming in our rising up and in our lying down, in our moments of joy and in our moments of sorrow, until the day when there shall be no sunset and no dawn. Amen. Thanks be to God for the gift of this day. Thanks be to God for the gift of faith and love. Thanks be to God for the gift of one another. And even though a virus separates us, the bonds of God's love keep us close together, knowing that we are God's family and we see each other as we truly are. I wish you a beautiful day today and a blessed week filled with God's love and grace. Amen. And a quick PS. I forgot to remind everyone about the signs. A lot of people have already picked them up. And you can pick up your sign from the St. Mark's office. Just call the church number and ask for Elizabeth, and Elizabeth will arrange with you to pick one up. Or you can tell Elizabeth if you need one delivered. And we have a number of people who are willing to do that. Let me say again, I know some of us are hesitant to put signs in our yards, but this is different. We're in a time when we need to be reminding each other of God's grace, God's love, God's compassion and justice. And it's a powerful testimony to our St. Mark's community to have everybody sharing these with those who walk past their home. You may not have a space in your yard, but you may have a space in a window. That's just fine. Put it wherever it will work the best. Thank you.